Okay, so I recently got my hands on an Audioscape 260 VU, which is recreated and heavily inspired by the famous DBX 160 VCA compressor. When it comes to VCA compressors, I know them for being very fast and giving me that smack and punch that I'm looking for out of a sound. It was very, very popular, or is very popular, on things like parallel compression on drums, vocals, and other sound sources as well. It does sound great also when I use it on vocals as far as VCA compressors, as far as getting that liveliness and that mid-range glow out of things with how fast that detector circuit is. So what we're gonna do is, and I know you just wanna hear this piece for what it is. What we're gonna do is we're gonna listen to this Audioscape 260 VU in parallel with a bunch of different sound sources. For instance, parallel on drums, parallel on bass, parallel on music, parallel on vocals. And then we're also gonna do it going through it just for what it is. So we're gonna slap the 260 VU from Audioscape on the drums directly, on the vocals, on the music and things of that directly, so you can just hear what it sounds like with just its compression, as opposed to the heavy compression that we're gonna do in parallel against or with drums and things of that nature. Now, I'll also be very transparent with you and let you know that Audioscape was so gracious to actually send me over the compressor. I've had it for about 4 months now and just been using it and testing it out with mixes to make sure that I understood this thing and really liked it before I showed you. So if you're seeing this, I'm gonna guess I liked it and I kept it for myself. So just want to be very transparent with you and let you know that they sponsored this by sending me the actual piece. But at the end of this, I want you to draw your own conclusions. This is just a breakdown of the compressor, what it sounds like. We're also going to put it up against the plugin to see what it sounds like, and you can actually draw your own conclusions from that as well. So first thing we're going to put it up against, or show it against, is parallel compression on drums. Then we'll do bass, then we'll do music, then we'll do vocals, and go from there. So drum examples first. So I noticed on the drums that things feel a lot more lively. Things are more accentuated as far as those transients and things of that nature. Even in the stereo field, in the side information, it kind of feels like things are just popping out a lot more. I'm hearing little nuances that I wasn't hearing before as far as low-level material, now feeling a lot thicker as far as the transients and things of that nature, especially in those clap percussions that you're hearing kind of moving. Also, within the actual kick itself, I can feel more of that punch coming from the kick, where I feel like a little bit more of the low mids are being accentuated, which I know is going to help me when it comes to smaller speakers like phones, to help that kick really shine through and punch and things of that nature. So let us move on to the next thing, which is going to be bass. Okay, so when I'm listening to that bass sound, I'm noticing a thickening of that bass sound. I'm getting a ton of girth and body and weight added to that bass, obviously by taking that bass sound, really smashing it, and then putting it right underneath the actual the original bass to kind of add that weight. And I'm also noticing, and call me crazy, in my stereo image, the bass feels like it gets a little bit wider, and that could be because of the low-level material kind of just being picked up and just thickened, and I'm noticing it in the stereo field. I'm noticing that my image from a thickness standpoint, also feels a bit bigger. Overall, the sound just feels overall bigger. Now, I will be honest with you and let you know that when I look at my mix bus, yes, I am losing about 2 dB of headroom. So there's about a 2 dB difference between the original mixed in with the 260 VU, but I'm also exaggerating things a bit more because of this actual breakdown for YouTube and things of that nature, because I'm pretty sure some of you are listening on the almighty phone. But for the most part, losing 2 dB and getting that sound in my head is phenomenal, and I'm with it. But of course, you can do it to taste. You don't have to push so much into it. You can do it really sparingly and just getting a little bit of the color and sound that the actual 260 VU is giving you. Now, let's go on to some music. Okay, so as far as that music is concerned, I heard a thickening of the sound. There's even, if you have monitors or listening on really good headphones, I'm noticing some of that low-level material really picking up in there, and I'm noticing just a thickening overall of that particular synth style sound. I'm also, once again, noticing the width of the entire sound just overall just feels bigger in the actual image, and it's providing me more of that low level stuff and just lifting that stuff up and making the sound kind of accentuating more of the sounds that I wasn't even really paying attention to, but just the nuances are feeling a lot more forward in the whole thing. Also, kind of feels a little bit punchier as far as when those stabs and when those moments are happening. I actually feel like it kind of comes at me a bit with the actual VU 260 VU engaged. Okay, cool. Now let's try this thing with paralleling it with vocals. But I know right now that your love ain't free. Know that you can do better than me. You're the only one I can see to make me better. But I know right now that your love ain't free. I know that you can do better than me. But you're the only one I can see to make me better. So baby, calm down to my level, baby, calm down. Wanna love you, baby, calm down. Only one that can make me better. So to my ears, I get this presence out of the vocal that is so clean, right? Where it doesn't feel like I'm getting this really colorful kind of parallel compression that's adding this mid-range presence, low mid and mid-range presence to the vocal, but instead it feels very clean. It doesn't feel so colored. It just feels like I'm just gonna take that mid-range, that feeling I'm getting, and push it forward. It doesn't really feel like it disturbs kind of like the EQ and things in the nature as far as the tone of the vocal that I've shaped and created, but it just adds that presence to it that I'm craving from a parallel standpoint. Really dope on vocals. I highly recommend it on that, and you heard it for yourself. You can run that test back a million times for yourself. Cool. So now let's listen to the actual compressors out of parallel mode for the most part as far as smashing it. Let's just hear it on certain elements for what it is. Sometimes I actually do like to run the 260 VU just kind of like a tone box where I'm not even really compressing. I'm just running it through the circuitry and just getting the sound that it's giving me innately. Although it is pretty transparent and clean, I do feel like from time to time I do get a little bit of this whiff or this thing with the image or the way that it interacts with high end that I do like as far as those transients and stuff like that. So let's listen to it just for what it is with a little bit of compression on the actual sound source. Let's do drums first. So when I'm listening to the drums with a bit of that compression on, and mind you, it's a funny saying about the DBX 160 and stuff like that, where they say if you see the meters, the gain reduction meters moving a little bit, you're probably compressing too much. It's like an old saying. But I just did a tad bit of compression as far as from a metering standpoint, as far as what I can see. And what I noticed is a few things. One thing in particular I noticed about the drums is a tightening of the sound. I also enjoy what this compressor is kind of taking away from the sound, where I was listening to the claps and noticing like this obsessive kind of like 7 kilohertz frequency that was up there that was a little harsh, and notice that when I put the compressor on, it kind of tamed that sound a little bit and kind of tightened the entire drum sound in its totality. Really cool sound. Like I said, really clean sounding, but I also enjoy what the compressor kind of takes away and adds. I kind of feel like I also get like this overall glow to the sound in the mid-range. It kind of gets more intelligible to me from a mid-range standpoint, where it feels like it goes from being a little bit muddy to a little bit more clear and clean. Really, really interesting. Draw your own conclusions from that. Okay, so now let us go on over to a bass sound. So what I'm noticing is that I am getting a little bit more punch and snappiness out of that bass sound. It's actually also tighter. I'm noticing that it feels just tighter within the grand scheme of things, especially in the low end. The low end just feels like, it doesn't feel like I'm losing the low end, but more or less it just feels like that low end just gets a lot tighter. And the way it's releasing and holding the actual bass sound is where I feel it shines the best in as far as what it's doing, because the way it's like kind of like releasing and attacking with that bass sound is it's allowing that transient and that bass to shine through, but the way it's holding it and letting it breathe still within the bass sound is pretty cool as well. Has a nice sound. Once again, doesn't feel like I'm getting this crazy coloration of the sound, but it feels really clean and is just taking the sound and tightening it a little bit. I did about, I'd say about 2 to 3 dB of gain reduction on there with it. Once again, not doing too much, but just exaggerating just a little bit also so that you can hear what it sounds like. Okay, so now let's move right on over to vocals. But I know right now that your love ain't free. Know that you can do better than me. You're the only one I can see to make me better. But I know right now that your love ain't free. I know that you can do better than me. But you're the only one I can see to make me better. So baby, come down to my level, baby, come down. Wanna love you, baby, come down. Only one that can make me better. Oh baby, but I know right now that your love ain't free. Know that you can do better than me. You're the only one I can see to make me better. But I know right now that your love ain't free. I know that you can do better than me. But you're the only one I can see to make me better. So baby, come down to my level, baby, come down. Wanna love you, baby. So as I'm listening to that compression that's on the vocal, it is taking those large peaky moments and taming it, but in a way that doesn't feel so smashed. It feels super warm to me as far as how it's just controlling those peaks, and then also how we're also raising some of that low level stuff. Now we're getting a vocal that is less dynamic in a good way, where the loud stuff is getting more tamed, and then the quiet stuff, we're bringing that stuff up. So now we're getting a more cohesive and tighter sound with the vocal that doesn't feel like there's these large jumps that are happening within it. We still have our dynamics nonetheless, and that's heralded. We want that, but at the same time, we have just a lot more control, and you can hear how pleasing the compression sounds from in my opinion, with how it's catching those big moments and kind of taming that harshness that came with that amplitude as far as that jump and things of that nature. It's really fire on vocals. I'm super considering throwing this into my vocal chain as my compressor. I do have a VCA compressor with my Newton channel over there, but I like the glow that this one is giving me and the speed at which it catches it and releases it. It's just, a no-brainer for me. I really like the sound of it on vocals, I'm not gonna lie. And that's probably gonna be one of my biggest things I use. To be honest, might not want another one just so I can use one for drums for that parallel sound, and then one just to run my vocals through while I'm tracking and stuff. We'll figure that out. Okay, so right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna test the plug-in version of the DBX 160 from Waves versus the Audioscape 260 VU. We're gonna listen to both of these. I got the volumes to be extremely similar as far as the level so that we can really just focus on the tonality of what the difference is between the two. Now, one thing I will do right now is there is a slight bit of compression that the vocals was recorded with, and I'm talking about a slight little bit. And what I'll do is I'll play the Audioscape 260 VU versus the DBX 160 from Waves emulation and let you try to figure out which is which. So let's listen to the raw vocal first, and then we'll go back and forth with the actual sound. So this is the raw vocal as it stands. But I know right now that your love ain't free. Know that you can do better than me. You're the only one I can see to make me better. But I know right now that your love ain't free. I know that you can do better than me. But you're the only one I can see. Cool. So that is the raw vocal as it stands. Now, let's put the plugin version versus this Audioscape version, and let's see which one you choose, A or B. But I know right now that your love ain't free. Know that you can do better than me. You're the only one I can see to make me better. But I know right now that your love ain't free. I know that you can do better than me. But you're the only one I can see. But I know right now that your love ain't free. Know that you can do better than me. You're the only one I can see to make me better. But I know right now that your love ain't free. I know that you can do better than me. But you... Okay, so if you chose A for the Audioscape 260 VU and B for the DBX 160 from Waves, you are correct. So A, to me, sounded... It just had this mid-range glow to it. It also did sound thicker as well. It really feel like it enhanced what the vocal was. And the biggest thing that I noticed with as far as the difference is what it's taking away and what it's taming. Once again, I love how this Audioscape 260 VU is taming those upper mids and mid-range frequencies that are a little bit jarring and a bit harsh, and it's kind of taming that stuff and making it feel so much smoother. I'm noticing that I'm getting just a sound that is accentuating that mid-range and getting that to feel a little bit more present, but at the same time kind of taking off the edge, the edginess, but in a pleasing way where it's not too much of the edginess where I'm losing high end and things of that nature. I like what the compressor is taking away and what it's giving me as far as that glow that I'm getting in the mid-range. As far as the 260, the one DBX 160 on the Waves version, it still has that cold kind of sound to it. And as far as how it's attacking and releasing, it feels a bit different from the way that it's grabbing transients and peaks on the actual Audioscape 260 VU. To each his own, not saying this one is so bad or things of that nature, but there is a difference. And those are the things that I'm noticing within the plugin versus the 260 VU from Audioscape. So all in all, I've enjoyed my experience with the Audioscape 260 VU over the past 4 or 5 months. It's really something that probably in my workflow, I'm looking to use it for tracking vocals, and then in a mixing standpoint, use for parallel compression on drums. Those are probably like the two main things that I'll probably use it for. Granted, my workflow is very important to me, and I'm trying not so much to be a bunch of outboard gear in order to capture my sound or use. So probably what I'm going to be using it for, or what I am using it for the most part, is tracking vocals. So I'm getting that print immediately, and I don't have to think about it. And then on the mixing side, I think I'll be using it more for parallel drum bus processing. And I want to create more of a set and forget type of setting when it comes to these two things, so that I can just switch modes whenever I want. But I think the big thing that I got from this is that harshness that I get from my vocals. This thing is taming that stuff and giving me a tone out of my vocal sound that is pleasing and really enjoyable. With the other side, in the mixing side, where I feel like it shines is with that parallel stuff. Being able to get that drum sound, those thicker drums to smack a bunch way harder and things of that nature with this is probably, or is, the way that I'm going to be using it when it comes to the mixing side. So recording side, definitely going to be using it for tracking vocals to get that tone and kind of tame those big peaks with this one. And then on the mixing side, definitely going to be using it more in the parallel compression sense for drums in that nature. If I really need to use it for something else, then I'll start, you know, messing around with some knobs and kind of figure things out. But since it is an outboard gear piece, that is something that I have to be cognizant of when it comes to my workflow and things of that nature. But overall, it's nice to have this. You create your own conclusions from seeing this entire video. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much also to Audioscape, great friends, for even sending me over the piece. And I really just love what they create. And I'm always impressed and always happy with what products that they actually create. So hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please leave a comment in the section below. Also, thank you guys so much for being subscribed and liking the video. Please make sure you do that as well. Follow us on Instagram at HelpMeDevon. And are there any other pieces that you would like me to investigate and listen to from Audioscape or any other company in general? Let me know. I hope y'all enjoyed, and until next time, y'all.